Hello again, everyone. As many of you know, my name is Carmen Mezzera, and I serve as Executive Director of APSIA, the Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs. Great to welcome you to day 3 of our Public and International Service Advisor Training Week. As many of you have heard me share, APSIA itself is the association for graduate schools around the world that have shown both their deep specialization in international affairs as well as the professional focus of what they do. We are also the home of the Public and International Service Advisor Network, and we're very excited to welcome all of you as PISAs, as we call them. And the network itself was designed to support undergraduate and community college advisors. And we're here today to talk with you a little bit about some of those ways that we're going to be able to support you going forward. Before we get into that content, I would absolutely be remiss, and nothing else starts without saying thank you. Thank you to my amazing colleague, Brittany Chor, for organizing this whole week and getting you all here. Thank you to all of you, especially those who've been able to join us throughout this whole series of sessions. And if you weren't able to attend them all, we do have recordings on our YouTube page, and I'll throw that link in the chat in just a minute. And thank you, of course, to the investors who make this kind of programming possible. In particular, I want to thank the Robertson Foundation for Government, as well as our colleagues at NASPA and APAM, who really enable us to deliver this kind of programming for you as advisors and to help you bring these fields to your students. And so with that, let me take a step back and introduce a little bit more as to what APSIA is and what the PISA network is. As I mentioned, APSIA itself focuses particularly on graduate schools that have been evaluated and gone through our membership process. Our work internally with those graduate schools supports them in their leadership, in their career development, in lots of different areas. And then as a complement to that, APSIA works with prospective students who are thinking about a master's or a mid-career or a PhD program. We work with employers to make it easy to hire the fabulous students and alum that come out of APSIA schools. We work with lots of partners to tell the story about why it's important to study international issues and what the professions of international affairs look like. And we work with all of you to hopefully, as I said, make it easy for you to bring this information to your students and to make it easy for them to think about and to see themselves in this space. To get started, I want to share a little bit with you about what kinds of tools and resources APSIA itself has. And hopefully folks can give me a thumbs up if they see my screen and the beautiful APSIA website that's here. So through APSIA itself, what we are able to share with you is, again, lots of information. If you have students thinking about graduate school in particular, we have profiles on all of our schools. We even have some quizzes that they can take as they're trying to figure out which program might make sense for them. If students say, I heard about this thing, but I don't really know what it is, we have a whole career guide that unpacks lots of different issue areas and topics. We tell stories about alumni around the world and the differences that they make and the ways that they contribute. We also have an active jobs and internships board, so they can find everything from remote internships all the way up to faculty positions if you're working with PhD students. For those who get interested in the space or are just trying to figure out how they can make these different elements work, we have a filterable guide to fellowships and scholarships, so they can find ways to pay for their study abroad or their research experience or ways to get professional exposure and experience outside of their home country. So they can search and filter through lots of different categories and try to find information that makes sense for them. And we're adding to this list as often as we can in order to continue to build out the tools and resources that we have. My colleague, Briana Suarez, will talk to you a little bit more about the many, many, many different events that we have throughout the year. But again, we are trying to make this lift as easy as possible for you and for your students to find different tools and resources in this space. So if you're looking for information, the APSIA website that you see here, simply apsia.org, and thank you, Briana, for putting that in the chat as well, can be a great place to start. But as a complement to that, in 2018, we launched the Public and International Service Advisor Network. This is your community, a community for you as undergraduate and community college advisors that really hopes to serve two purposes. One, it's a place where you can turn for different resources and tools and ask questions. And after this week, you'll be added to the PISA listservs, either for faculty or for staff, depending on your role. And there you have at your disposal truly hundreds of other advisors, also in student-facing roles across the United States, to whom you can pose questions or share tools and information that's been useful to you. And we really do hope to activate that network and find it as a great way to build those levels of community all across the country. You'll also get lots of tools and information and resources and opportunities from us. Every Friday, you will start to receive an email from me that has job, internship, fellowship, scholarship, snarky commentary, all sorts of different pieces of information. We know advisors value this, whether it's because they pull it out and they put it in their newsletter, maybe they take a video and they post it on their social media page. Our hope is to make your life a little easier and to find new ways to bring this content to your students. And as a complement to that, we have the Public and International Service Advisor Network website. And I just want to walk you through a couple of quick pieces that we hope will be of service to you going forward. First, here on the PISA Network page, you can request materials, both from APSIA schools as well as from our partners. If you would like some paper for your office, an easy way is to say to that student, oh, you're interested in a full guide? Here's a brochure, here's a pamphlet, here's some information. All of this is free, of course, as is the ability to request a presentation from particularly the APSIA team, whether it's about graduate school, careers in international affairs, or some combination therein. We are very happy to come physically or particularly by Zoom into your office, into your classrooms, and share this information with your students. We do these all over the world all the time as a way to just, again, help build up their knowledge base of what's possible in this space. We also have a resources directory where you can find downloads, podcasts, other resources, more ways for you to bring this kind of information to your students. So let's say you do get questions about careers in international affairs and you'd really like to see a handout. So here you can choose under downloads. These would be pieces that you can download. And we have a 2-page overview of careers in international affairs. It's available for you to pull down, print out, download, email to students. All of this is here. All of this is free thanks to the investors that we have. If you're just tired of listening to what you've got going on in your podcast or your network, we have lots of different ways that you can find other information, other webinars, some of our partners' podcasts and broadcasts. So lots of other things that you can do to build up your knowledge or to share with students. And again, we absolutely encourage you to steal this information blatantly, put it in your newsletter, put it in your social media, talk to students about it. We really want to be here to make your life simpler. And as a complement to that, I want to invite my colleague Briana Suarez to talk to you a little bit about the many different events that we do for your students. We also run lots of events for you as advisors to build up your knowledge and to brief you on different programs and opportunities. And if we get a chance during Q&A, I'm happy to share more about those as well. Briana, please.
No, thank you so much for that, Carmen. And thank you all again for joining us today. My name is Briana Suarez, and I'm the International Admissions and Operations Manager here at APSIA. And my work is primarily working with our admissions officers and prospective students, again, to make sure that we tell the story of international affairs and make sure that students know that this field is open for all. And so with that, we have a number of resources available to prospective students in their journey into graduate school and through international affairs. The first that I want to highlight is our graduate school recruitment events that we run yearly. And these are traditionally held in person and virtually for students that are interested in pursuing and learning more about a master's, mid-careers, and or PhD programs. And so this past September, or last week, excuse me, we ran our online graduate school fair. We have 2 of those every year to reach students worldwide where they can connect with our admissions officers virtually, ask their questions, and again, learn a little bit more about their programs. We also are now running our virtual open houses, and these are meant to complement our online fairs and other programming and allow for a more personal conversation about our APSIA members programs and specifically in specific topics. And so we have upcoming virtual open houses in topics such as national security and global threats, business and international trade, science, technology, and cybersecurity, and many more. And we are happy to share the links for that for your prospective students. Again, these are free and students can join virtually from anywhere around the world. We also have in-person receptions coming up, specifically in New York City, in Paris, France, and in Mexico City for those students that are studying abroad or in these locations where they can connect personally and in person again with our APSIA admissions officers and APSIA alums in order for them to learn more about the field of international affairs and our APSIA members programs. Outside of the recruitment events that we host, we also have, as Carmen mentioned, presentations that we have for students, again, to broaden the space and get students to learn more about the space itself. So one that we run is our best practices webinar. We run these monthly, and this is a webinar that we have to walk students through the process of applying to graduate school. So we cover topics such as choosing the right program for graduate school, when is the right time to apply to graduate school, a general timeline in applying to graduate school, finding financial aid for graduate school, careers after graduation, and so forth. And our next best practices will be on October 19th at 10 a.m. Again, we're happy to share this event and the link as well. Outside of that monthly webinar, we also have the webinars that we can personally cater to you all or tailor to you all. So we can tailor one on best practices. We also run our careers in international affairs webinar. We have one specifically for students on preparing for the global marketplace. And we also have, as Carmen mentioned, resources for you all, presentations for you all for advisors, such as helping students prepare for the global marketplace, podcasting, and many more. Again, you can just head over to the PISA network website and ask us for a specific webinar that you may be interested in. It doesn't have to be ones that I've just mentioned. It could be something a little bit more tailored or a combination of the ones I've mentioned for you and or your students. We also have our monthly office hours for prospective students or anyone really that wants to join and ask us any questions regarding graduate school, international affairs, and so forth. And this is a great way to chat with APSIA members, or APSIA staff without having to set a specific meeting. And so we're available, again, to chat about any topic ranging from graduate school, career opportunities, or anything that a student or you may have questions on. And our next one will be held on October 26th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We also help with your own planned programming. So we help out in case you have a panel or an event that you want to have panelists speak at. And we reach out to our own networks and provide speakers, whether they be APSIA alums or ourselves, to speak to students on various topics. We ourselves have served as panelists and have spoken at many, many conferences and organizations and events even this past year. So if you have any programming needs, please feel free to reach out to us, and we are happy to, as Carmen mentioned, make the lift a little easier on you all. For those of you that have students that are underrepresented or multicultural, we have our Diversity Forum program that we run each year. Specifically, we run an event for students in July, usually in person, in which we encourage you to invite your students to participate. It's usually in Washington, D.C. And again, it is for students that are typically underrepresented in the field of international affairs. And we run workshops throughout the day that range from finding mentors and allies, careers in international affairs, salary negotiations, and so forth. This event typically takes place in July, so I'm sure we'll be sharing more information for the 2024 Diversity Forum event later on in the next year. We also have our internship, which is a paid internship that we ourselves run that comes with a stipend for students that are interested in working alongside APSIA. And it is the International Communications and Marketing Internship. And we run this every semester. So we usually bring on an intern to help us with all of this programming, because as you know, we're a mighty team of 3. And so there's a lot of work to be done, and we gladly invite anyone that wants to come on board and help us in really, again, get the word out of what international affairs is, why this space is important, why this topic is important in studying, and how open it is to anyone that is interested in being part of the field. And lastly, I just want to highlight our social media that we really hope you all will follow. We share many opportunities, not just job openings, but events, internships, many, many opportunities that not only advisors can take advantage of, but the general public can. So please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Really, it is a great way to connect with APSIA and leverage our network in order to make your lives a little bit easier. And I think I've covered everything on my end, so I'm going to throw it over back to my colleague, Carmen. Unless I've missed anything, please, Carmen, let me know. But thank you again.
No, Briana, thank you. That was great. And we'll now turn to questions that are in the chat. Mariette, thank you for yours. And for others, if you any questions about all the things we've just ripped through quite quickly, or things you've heard this week, whether it's, how do my students do this locally, or, folks talked about this during the career webinar, but what do you think about that? Or what other resources and tools exist? We are here to be of service to you through this conversation and again, going forward. Mariette, for your question about International Education Week, the events that you saw are the primary ones that we are coordinating. There's a few others that we're participating in, actually, that some PISA advisors are working on for their own local campus IEW activities. For a variety of reasons, that particular week for us was already pretty crowded. And so we didn't schedule anything specific outside of what you see on the calendar for International Education Week. But again, if you're doing activities, I'm sure I can force my colleagues to squeeze some time in. So we are very happy to Zoom to you or to come to you, depending on where you are, and then build out your International Education Week activities. For those who may not be familiar, IEW is an initiative primarily broadly driven by the State Department's Educational and Cultural Affairs Division, but lots of campuses participate or deliberately place things in that week so that they can celebrate all that international education, whether it's study abroad or international students or studying international affairs, has to offer on their campus.
And I will say that I know that many of our APSIA member colleagues are traveling at this time and will be participating in events. So we're happy to connect you with them while they are on ground, sorry.
Even on the ground, no. Other questions, like I said, things you've heard. We had such a great conversation about careers, about grad school, about local and global. One thing that didn't come up much was building on Briana's point about our virtual internship. Lots of virtual opportunities for your students who may not be able to physically go to places. There's even now virtual programs like the virtual critical language scholarship, the virtual, I think the Boren scholarship has a virtual component that comes and goes. You are also absolutely welcome to check out some of the past resources we've created, whether it's our past newsletter, for example, on IEW or other pieces. And so, lots of tools and resources that we have, again, to make your life a little easier. I mentioned what's called the Critical Language Scholarship Virtual Spark Program. There's also the Virtual Student Federal Service, the UN Online Volunteer Course. So lots of other opportunities if you have questions from students about how they can connect from wherever they happen to be. Other questions, things you're burning down just to know? Questions you commonly get from students. Oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
No, things that you get questions from students, and again, things that you may have heard this week that you wanted to touch upon, that you wanted to revisit, questions you may have about, again, those topics. Please feel free. This is a time for all of you to ask any of us the questions, so please take advantage of that.
Briana, one question I commonly get that I'm curious how you answer is when students should go to graduate school. Should they go straight through? Should they take some time off? How do you typically answer that question when students pose it to you?
Yep, great question. So I typically answer by saying that we recommend that students take at least a year in between their undergraduate studies and their graduate studies. And this is because it allows them to get some professional experience, which we know many of our schools are often looking for. And that way they can also explore the topics that they think they're interested in versus the topics that they're actually interested in studying in. I will say that about 25% of APSIA current graduate students are straight from undergrad. So that is a possibility for those students that are very intrepid and know exactly what they want to do. That is a possibility. But again, we recommend that at least students take at least a year in between their graduate studies, if not more. Again, allows them to gain that professional experience that we know students are often, schools are often looking for.
And anytime you want us to come deliver that message to your students, we are 100% on board and able to come and do that. We have about 5 minutes left in this session. I want to be sure to share my email in the chat, and Briana, I invite you to do the same. We are absolutely here. Brittany, I invite you to do the same, to be of a tool and resource to you. So if there's something you're not comfortable asking now, or you think of in a couple hours, please do reach out. We really see this as the beginning of our relationship with all of you, and really invite you to stay in relationship with us. We're also happy, as I mentioned, to provide video content, written content for your newsletters. We're able to do this in multiple languages, thanks to my amazing multilingual colleagues. And so, again, we're very happy to be here and be of service.
I have a quick question, if it's okay.
Yeah, please.
So on the website, I'm a fellowships advisor out of Claremont, California. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for hosting this. On the fellowships and scholarships page, you have a designation that's for quote unquote multicultural students. Do you mean typically students that are marginalized in terms of ethnicity, or like what does that designation specifically mean? Does it also cover international students?
That would not typically include opportunities for international students. That would
Okay.
more be diverse US nationals. For international students, it would be more under the region that they come from. So
Right.
if they're African nationals, it would be the African designation, or European nationals.
Got it. Okay, and when you say diverse, you are referring only to ethnically diverse. These scholarships are not calling out diversity in terms of disability, for instance, or in terms of religious ethnicity or anything to that effect. Like, how are you defining multicultural? Is what I'm getting at.
I'd have to look at them particularly. It should include LGBTQI plus. In terms of religious diversity, that can be broadly defined, and so it may not be in there. Disability, probably not. So it's broad, but it's not as broad as all of those categories.
Okay, thank you, much appreciated.
No problem, thank you. Other questions, things as you're poking around that you're curious how it all works out? Excellent. Well, thank you all for spending the week with us. We're really excited to get to know you and your students and to be of service. So please do capitalize on the tools and resources and the brilliant minds that in the APSIA staff that make me look good. And again, I want to thank my team for all of their hard work and all of you for being with us this week. We have a really quick poll, so you can let us know how this session went. And after that, again, please do reach out and let us know how we can help.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining again. And please reach out if you have any questions. Do not be shy. We're here to help and again, make your lift a little easier. We know how hard your work is and how many students you all have to reach. So please utilize us and take advantage of this great network that you are all now part of.
I just want to thank you all on camera. Thank you for this week and the other sessions I've attended with you all over the past few months. This has been really helpful, especially for me being an advisor at a community college. It'll really help my students think far beyond. So thank you all again, and I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you. That's absolutely the hope. So Alexandra, let us know. I keep saying this, but we really do need it. We want to come and help. So let us know how we can do that. And I also want to give one last thank you and shout out to the Robertson Foundation and NASPA and APAM, who help us deliver this kind of programming for all of you. So thanks to my team, thanks to all of you, and thanks to our investors. And I hope you have a great weekend, and we won't tell if you skip out for the rest of the day. So thanks, everybody.